In a significant shift in international trade dynamics, the U.S. Postal Service USPS has announced an indefinite suspension of parcels from mainland China and Hong Kong. This decision coincides with the implementation of new tariffs on Chinese imports, a move that reflects the ongoing tension in U.S. China trade relations. The impact of these tariffs, which include a 10% levy on a wide range of goods, is expected to reverberate through the American economy, affecting consumers and businesses alike. The USPS's suspension of parcel deliveries follows the closure of a loophole that allowed small packages valued at $800 or less to enter the U.S. without incurring taxes or fees. This de minimis exemption has been exploited by numerous Chinese retailers, particularly fast fashion giants like Shein and Temu, to ship low-cost items directly to American consumers. The exemption has contributed to a surge in imports, which saw low-value Chinese goods rise from $5.3 billion in 2018 to an astonishing $66 billion in 2023, according to a recent Congressional Research Service report. The new tariff regulations, part of a broader strategy outlined by President Donald Trump, are designed to level the playing field for American businesses. It has long been a complaint of UK retailers, European retailers, and US retailers that Shein are exploiting this loophole, not paying customs duty, and they have built a business at an industrial scale, said Nick Stowe, CEO of Monsoon and Accessorize. The move to halt parcel deliveries is expected to significantly curtail the influx of low-cost goods from China, but it raises questions about the implications for American consumers who have grown accustomed to affordable online shopping. While letters and documents sent from China will not be affected by this suspension, the ramifications for e-commerce are considerable. The USPS's decision to stop accepting parcels comes amid increasing scrutiny from U.S. lawmakers regarding the potential risks associated with the massive volume of low-value imports, which complicate efforts to screen for illegal or unsafe goods. In a parallel development, the European Union is also tightening its customs checks and examining the practices of companies like Shein and Temu in light of consumer safety concerns. The implementation of these tariffs is likely to lead to price increases across various categories of consumer goods, including electronics, apparel, and toys. The Consumer Technology Association reports that China accounted for 78% of U.S. smartphone imports and 79% of laptop imports in 2023. As a result, American consumers can expect higher prices for everyday items, as retailers often pass on the costs of tariffs to their customers. For instance, analysts predict that footwear, which predominantly comes from China, could see price hikes approaching 10%. Trump's administration has emphasized that these tariffs are part of a broader strategy to combat illicit drug trafficking and to encourage domestic manufacturing. In a recent statement, Trump acknowledged the potential for some pain in the economy but insisted that the long-term benefits would outweigh the immediate costs. Will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. But we will make America great again, and it will all be worth the price that must be paid, he wrote on social media. As tensions escalate, China has retaliated with its own tariffs on U.S. goods, further complicating the trade landscape. The ongoing back and forth raises concerns about a potential trade war that could have lasting impacts on both economies. In light of these developments, retailers are preparing for a challenging landscape. For example, Brianne Olson, CEO of teen clothing chain PacSun, noted that while they currently do not plan to raise prices, they are closely monitoring the situation. Looking ahead, the evolving trade relationship between the U.S. and China will likely continue to shape consumer behavior and market dynamics. As companies adapt to the new tariff structure, American shoppers may find themselves navigating a more complex and potentially more expensive retail environment. The future of e-commerce and international trade remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the repercussions of these tariffs will resonate far beyond the immediate changes in package deliveries. In a dramatic escalation of U.S.-China tensions, recent developments have spotlighted the intersection of U.S. domestic policy, international trade, and national security. Reports emerged revealing that the CIA has extended offers of financial incentives to its staff to resign as part of a broader initiative by the Trump administration to reshape the agency's focus. This move aligns with President Trump's ongoing trade war with China, which has seen a series of retaliatory measures and tariffs that threaten to reshape global commerce. Sources including The Wall Street Journal and CNN indicate that the CIA's strategy aims to align its operations more closely with Trump's priorities, which include combating drug cartels and undermining Chinese influence. An aide to CIA Director John Ratcliffe, who chose to remain unnamed, stated that the agency is also halting the hiring of applicants who were previously given conditional job offers, potentially rescinding them if candidates do not fit the agency's new strategic objectives. In tandem with these developments, China's foreign ministry has expressed strong dissatisfaction and resolute opposition against the recently imposed 10% tariffs on all Chinese goods. Spokesman Lin Jian emphasized the futility of a trade war, declaring, "There are no winners in a trade war or a tariff war," while calling for constructive dialogue between the two nations. These tariffs signal a significant escalation in the ongoing trade conflict, which has already seen China respond with its own set of countermeasures, including a 15% tariff on U.S. coal and an antitrust investigation into Google. Adding fuel to the fire, the U.S. Postal Service announced a temporary suspension of package services from China and Hong Kong following the implementation of Trump's tariffs. This suspension, described as necessary for the Postal Service to adjust to the new tax framework, does not affect the delivery of letters and flats. Analysts suggest that the change could significantly impact e-commerce platforms like Shein and Temu, which have thrived under the previous de minimis exemption that allowed packages valued under $800 to enter the U.S. tariff-free. The suspension could disrupt a flow of approximately 4 million packages a day, a substantial portion of which come from China. Economist Ishwar Prasad remarked, "The days of Chinese companies like Shein and Temu sending low-value packages to the United States that are not subject to taxes are numbered." This sentiment reflects a growing consensus among U.S. officials that the de minimis rule has allowed Chinese goods to circumvent tariffs, undermining the intended economic impact of trade policies. In a related move, the Hang Seng Tech Index, which tracks technology firms in Hong Kong, saw a rise of approximately 4.5%. As market participants speculated that a negotiated settlement on tariffs might be forthcoming. As the geopolitical landscape continues to shift, the implications of these actions extend beyond immediate trade impacts. They highlight a broader struggle for influence between the U.S. and China as both nations grapple with the consequences of their economic policies on domestic and global scales. Looking ahead, the potential for dialogue remains uncertain, yet both countries appear to be preparing for an extended period of economic contestation. The evolving situation underscores the delicate balance of power in international relations, with the stakes increasingly high for businesses and consumers alike. As the trade war between the United States and China intensifies, tensions are mounting and the economic landscape is rapidly shifting. Recent developments suggest a complex interplay of currency management, tariff impositions, and logistical adjustments that could significantly impact global trade dynamics. On February 5, 2025, the People's Bank of China (PBOC) set a stronger than expected fixing rate for the yuan against the US dollar, establishing a rate of 7.1693 per dollar. This decision came as a surprise to many analysts who anticipated a weaker yuan to help mitigate the effects of newly raised US tariffs on Chinese exports. The U.S. government had just increased duties on Chinese imports by 10%, a move that could exacerbate the existing trade tensions. Today's fixing rate was set stronger than market expectations. This sends a signal that China is unlikely to counter the impact of tariffs through yuan depreciation, noted Ding Xuan, chief Greater China economist at Standard Chartered Bank. This approach may reflect a strategic decision by China to foster a more favorable negotiation atmosphere with the U.S., as a sharp depreciation of the yuan could provoke further retaliatory measures from Washington. In the same week, President Donald Trump has shown no urgency in initiating dialogue with Chinese President Xi Jinping, even amid escalating tensions. The Trump administration's recent actions, including the imposition of new tariffs, underscore a firm stance against China. The delay of previously planned tariffs on Canada and Mexico for 30 days does hint at a potential recalibration of the U.S.'s trade strategies, but it remains to be seen how this will affect relations with China. Compounding the challenges faced by both nations, the United States Postal Service USPS made headlines by reversing an earlier decision to suspend inbound mail and packages from China and Hong Kong. Just hours after announcing the halt, the USPS stated that it would resume accepting all international mail, citing collaboration with Customs and Border Protection to implement a more efficient collection mechanism for the new tariffs. This quick turnaround indicates the complexities of navigating logistics in an evolving trade environment where tariffs are a significant concern. As these developments unfold, the implications for global trade are profound. The stability of the yuan, coupled with the shifting policies of the USPS, suggests that both nations are keenly aware of the delicate balance required to maintain trade relationships. The possibility of further negotiations remains uncertain, but both sides appear to be treading carefully to avoid exacerbating the ongoing trade war. Looking ahead, the trajectory of the U.S. China trade relationship will likely continue to be influenced by strategic currency management and tariff policies. How both nations navigate this turbulent economic landscape will be crucial in determining the future of international trade, with ramifications that could extend far beyond their borders. As businesses and consumers alike brace for the impact of these developments, the global economy watches closely to see what the next chapter in this ongoing saga will hold. The rapid evolution of artificial intelligence and technological advancements in space is reshaping the geopolitical landscape, particularly as nations vie for dominance in these critical arenas. The recent emergence of China's DeepSeek AI capabilities has raised alarms not only among national security experts but also among investors, as American AI companies experienced a significant drop in stock prices following the announcement. This development underscores the broader implications of China's technological progress, which poses a tangible threat to both U.S. economic interests and national security. China's ambitions extend beyond AI. They have been aggressively seeking to bolster their space capabilities while simultaneously attempting to pilfer American technological advancements. The increasing involvement of private companies in U.S. space missions, particularly those contracted by NASA and the Department of Defense (DoD), has heightened the risk of sensitive technologies falling into the hands of adversaries like China and Russia. In a stark reminder of this vulnerability, a joint advisory from the Air Force, FBI, and National Counterintelligence and Security Center stated that both Chinese and Russian space agencies are actively trying to acquire technology from leading U.S. companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin. Foreign intelligence entities recognize the importance of the commercial space industry to the U.S. economy and national security, the advisory noted, emphasizing that these entities view American innovations as both threats and opportunities for espionage. This has led to calls for heightened security measures among private contractors involved in space missions. Companies like United Launch Alliance and SpaceX must reinforce their security protocols to safeguard their technologies, while U.S. security agencies ramp up monitoring efforts to protect critical infrastructure. The landscape of American space capabilities has shifted dramatically in recent years. 10 years ago, SpaceX was a burgeoning company struggling against bureaucratic red tape, whereas today it conducts the majority of government-sponsored launches. However, this surge in private sector involvement brings with it a significant responsibility to protect proprietary technologies and sensitive data that are vital to national security. Recent reports have revealed that SpaceX is under scrutiny for failing to comply with federal reporting protocols designed to protect state secrets, illustrating the critical need for stringent oversight in the evolving private space industry. While the tech industry's rapid innovation provides substantial benefits to American defense technologies, it also presents a cultural clash with the established norms of governmental security protocols. As the Pentagon seeks to balance the urgency of technological advancement with the necessity of national security, the solutions will require a multifaceted approach. Stricter federal vetting standards and divestiture requirements could be imposed on companies engaged in government contracts, ensuring that any potential ties to adversarial nations like China and Russia are severed. As the Biden administration continues to take shape, there exists a pivotal opportunity for Pentagon and NASA leaders to collaborate with space industry partners to implement these necessary safeguards. The failure to act could risk an undesirable outcome: the ascendance of Chinese and Russian supremacy in space, which would be detrimental to U.S. and allied interests. Compounding these challenges, China recently imposed export controls on crucial minerals integral to the defense sector, responding to the latest tariffs enacted by the Trump administration. The Chinese government announced that licenses would now be required for the export of 20 products containing tungsten, tellurium, bismuth, indium, and molybdenum, metals that are essential for military applications ranging from munitions to satellite construction. This strategic move not only highlights China's leverage over U.S. supply chains but also foreshadows further escalations that could disrupt American defense capabilities. China's dominance in the production of these minerals is significant, controlling over 80% of global tungsten and bismuth production. With the U.S. heavily reliant on Chinese imports and lacking sufficient domestic reserves, the potential for supply disruptions poses a serious risk. Efforts to mitigate this dependency include partnerships with allies like Canada, which is being tapped to develop its mineral resources as a viable alternative. In this precarious environment, it is evident that the interplay between technology, national security, and international relations is more critical than ever. As the U.S. navigates these challenges, the future of its technological and defense landscape will depend on the ability to safeguard its innovations while fostering cooperation among private industry and government agencies. The stakes are high, and the need for a coordinated response to these emerging threats has never been more urgent. The European Union is poised to reshape its trade landscape, particularly concerning the influx of small packages from China, as it seeks to address growing concerns over consumer safety and revenue losses. With an astonishing 12 million small value parcels entering the EU daily, 91% of which originate from China, the European Commission has proposed the elimination of tax exemptions on shipments valued under €150, approximately $156. This move is part of a broader strategy to regulate the online sale of products deemed often dangerous, specifically targeting e-commerce giants like Shein and Temu, which have been implicated in this surge. The volume of these small packages has skyrocketed, doubling from 1.9 billion to 4.2 billion annually between 2023 and 2024. The customs regimes are overwhelmed, acknowledged EU officials, who estimate that implementing a simplified tariff on these imports could potentially recoup as much as €1 billion in lost revenue each year. This figure may even be conservative given the rapid increase in import volumes since earlier studies were conducted. As the EU contemplates these regulatory changes, the implications for Chinese e-commerce firms are significant. By tightening customs checks and potentially imposing tariffs, the bloc aims to strike a balance between ensuring consumer safety and maintaining a competitive e-commerce environment. The proposed measures signal a pivotal moment in EU-China relations as they reflect broader geopolitical tensions and trade dynamics that have emerged in recent years. In a parallel development, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has expressed a desire to strengthen trade ties with China amidst concerns of potential U.S. tariffs affecting the EU. During a recent address, she emphasized the importance of navigating a hyper-competitive geopolitical landscape while also seeking constructive engagement with China. "We will keep de-risking our economic relationship, but there is also room to engage constructively with China," von der Leyen stated, highlighting the delicate balance the EU must maintain in its foreign policy. Experts interpret von der Leyen's remarks as a tactical adjustment rather than a complete policy overhaul. While the EU continues to advocate for increased scrutiny of goods from Chinese e-commerce platforms, there is also a recognition of the potential benefits that cooperation with China could yield.
As tensions between the US and EU simmer, the latter may find itself reassessing its strategic priorities, particularly in sectors like artificial intelligence, where collaboration with China could prove advantageous.
Meanwhile, on the ground in China, Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has embarked on a 4-day visit aimed at enhancing bilateral relations amid a backdrop of increasing regional cooperation. Her delegation, which includes key ministers from various sectors, seeks to address pressing issues such as telecom scams and to bolster trade and infrastructure projects. This visit underscores the importance of regional partnerships for both Thailand and China, especially as they navigate the complexities of global trade and diplomacy. As the EU moves forward with its proposed changes, the landscape of e-commerce and international trade will undoubtedly evolve. The upcoming months will be critical as the bloc finalizes its regulatory framework and assesses the repercussions for Chinese retailers and the broader economic relationship between Europe and China. With trade tensions and consumer safety concerns at the forefront, the world watches closely to see how these developments will unfold and shape future commerce.